Kilo Oscar 4 Papa November India.
Papa November India, Roger. What's the name there?
Papa November India, Roger. What's the name there?
The name here is Dalton, and I'm 15 years old.
Roger, did you say Dalton?
Roger, did you say Dalton?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Dalton, let me take a wild guess. You're in New York, is that Roger?
Dalton, let me take a wild guess. You're in New York, is that Roger?
Negative.
Okay, how far away from New York are you?
Okay, how far away from New York are you?
Probably roughly 500 miles.
My goodness gracious. So are you running 100 watts?
Goodness gracious. Are you running 100 watts?
No, sir. I'm pushing about 700, 850 watts right now through an Ameritron AL80B amplifier here in the state of West Virginia.
Yes, sir. Now, see, that's the thing about assumptions. And you know what assumptions make of us. And I just assumed that nice, young, charming voice was running 100 watts instead of having a beast on the line. Roger?
Running 100 watts instead of having a beast on the line. Roger?
Yeah, thank you. I just was tuning around and I heard you give your big opening speech, and I thought it was pretty interesting, so I figured I'd hang around and see what it's all about.
Yes, sir. Dalton, and what radio are you running today?
Yes, sir. Dalton, and what radio are you running today?
We've got a Yaesu FTDX-10.
Yes, sir. That's a great radio. Now, thing you want to be sure of is that you're in that wide transmit bandwidth. That wide transmit bandwidth is 100 to 2900. I think you have a selection of 3 different bandwidths, transmit bandwidths on that radio, and you want to be on the best one, like 100 to 2900 is what we suggest, Roger, because that gives you the capability of that transmitter performing at its maximum capability with just a slice of daylight before it winds up in somebody else's conversation, Roger.
Before it winds up in somebody else's conversation, Roger.
Roger, I went and verified that here earlier.
Roger, Roger. Now, once past that, we get down to that compressor processor, and we want to be running 30 out of 100 or 3 out of 10, whichever it's labeled, Roger. Just a bare minimum, just a third of that compressor processor, Roger.
A bare minimum, just a third of that compressor processor, Roger.
Yeah, I'm not really sure where that would be on this radio.
Roger, I hear it sucking up just when you first come in, before you speak the first time. So I think it's up there a little bit. Why don't you take some notes? I take it you're not that familiar with that radio yet?
I take it you're not that familiar with that radio yet?
No, I don't usually, use this radio that often. This is kind of our vacation home, so we only get to pull it out every so often.
Roger, well, it's a shame to waste that radio on vacations only, sir. That is just a beautiful radio. But be that as it may, you want that compressor to be at a 3 out of 10 or 30 out of 100, depending on how it's labeled. And then move to your ALC with mic gain in hand. And as you say the magic word audio, adjust your mic gain until your ALC is running 7 or 2/3, whichever comes first, Roger.
7 or 2/3, whichever comes first, Roger.
All right. I guess I'll have to do that here in a minute. Just definitely learning a lot right now.
Yes, sir. Yeah, well, that's the best way to set your audio modulation level, your audio level. You know, you consider the ALC the Bible for that radio, and it will tell you exactly how it's doing. And so we want to run that ALC meter in the sweet spot, which is 7 or 2/3, whichever comes first. And then I would probably keep the ALC meter out so you can see it as you're talking down the road to your friends, neighbors, and outlaws and in-laws and all that. Develop a relationship with your ALC, with your voice, and try to keep that sweet spot right there with your voice controlled, and that is 2/3 on that ALC meter. Roger?
Controlled, and that is 2/3 on that ALC meter. Roger?
Okay, looks like it's probably about that. Maybe, looks like it might just be peaking just a little bit on the high side.
Yeah, I would pull. Do you know where your mic gain control is on your radio?
Do you know where your mic gain control is on your radio?
Yes.
Okay, what's it reading now?
It was at 95. I backed it down to 90, and I think we're just about there. I might need to back it down to 85, though.
Yeah, I'd take it back to 85. That's looking good. I'm looking at your audio on a VU meter, and I can tell just by the way the meter hangs as to what your dynamic range is, Roger. The more you push that ALC, the more the meter hangs towards 0 before falling off. And you look like you're right there at 3 dB, which is the ideal point to be, Roger.
At 3 dB, which is the ideal point to be, Roger.
All right. Now I backed it down to 85, and it's looking a lot better.
Yes, sir. So we still want to stay on, at 2/3 as best we can, Roger.
We want to stay on, at 2/3 as best we can, Roger.
Roger.
And maybe another note there on your equalization. Probably that radio, if you're in the compression processor mode, you will have a set of P equalizer controls, and you want to, just a little brighter on that P series of equalization controls. Maybe plus 4 clicks hotter than where you are on the treble side. And if there's some question about where treble is and you can adjust it, we want to do that at 2.7 kilohertz with a width of 4, and that will do a nice little brightness on the top of your audio, Roger, for articulation.
Yes, on the top of your audio, Roger, for articulation.
Yeah, I would have to go ahead and find that wherever that may be. Like I said, I do need to get into this radio a little bit more.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, hopefully you've got some notes there to work with and something to do on your vacation, Roger.
And something to do on your vacation, Roger.
Yeah, Roger. It's been pretty rainy and stuff up here, so it'll give me something else to do.
Roger, now I can just envision you up on the top of a mountain there with all kinds of antennas and stuff. Is that a Roger?
With all kinds of antennas and stuff. Is that a Roger?
Yeah, we've got just one antenna up right now. We've got a vertical that I want to put up, but when my dad used to live up here, he would run bare wires all the way up to the top of the mountain. We're not quite at the top, but we're pretty high up there, probably about 2,500 feet above sea level.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, antennas don't need to be, wire antennas don't need to necessarily be insulated if they're not touching limbs or stuff like that. But if you are touching limbs, you should try to avoid limbs if you can, because, and particularly towards the tip of the antenna, the distance furthest away from your transmitter, because you have extremely high voltages there that can just eat right through that insulation and go right to ground through that tree limb. So you want to insulate hopefully before you get to a limb, and you don't have the end of your transmission line tied to a limb directly, because like I say, the end of your antenna wire does have high circulating voltages that will arc right into that tree limb. Roger?
Circulating voltages that will arc right into that tree limb. Roger?
Yeah, Roger. He always said it was quite the pain to take care of, because you'd have to go up every day and check on it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So what you want to do, they have things called insulators, and they have like inline insulators, and hopefully you can go to a limb other than the one that you further away, that you can put this inline insulator between your transmission line, the end of your transmission line, and the support, and then you don't have to worry about it, because your antenna line is isolated from the tree. Roger?
The line is isolated from the tree. Roger?
Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense.
And another thing to watch out for is that, and I thought this for many years. I had this, and I've got this very, very tall tree in the front yard, and I was thinking, boy, it would be something else if I could get a line over that. And this buddy of mine came over, and I forget, was he he was a golfer or something, whatever it was. He put the line right over that tree, exactly at the right spot. So I had a great antenna. The problem was that I could never get the SWR down, and I would, this went on for 2 or 3 years. I was running like a 2 or something, and I kept trying to figure out, what could I do to make this SWR work out, and I tried everything, and the best I could do was a 2. And then at one of those times when I was working on it, I was using little tie wraps to hold the wire momentarily until I, sealed it more permanently, and unfortunately, as luck would have it, I lost the high position on that tree through operator error, and it was a sad day for me, because I said, there goes the neighborhood, it'll never be the same, and so I was forced to go to a very low limb on that tree, and all of a sudden my SWR just disappeared. And it turns out that there was enough difference. Although these two ends of a dipole were balanced lengthwise, there was enough difference between this one antenna, which went up into the air, was a sloper, and the other end, which was pretty much parallel to the ground. And then when I just went to the lower limb, much lower limb, both parts of that antenna were running very similar to positions above the ground, and I guess they became very well balanced, and much better than running that sloper on half of it. And so when they became balanced, then my SWR just disappeared. Roger?
Became balanced, then my SWR just disappeared. Roger?
Yeah, that is quite interesting, but I guess with the SWR gone, that probably made up a little bit for the loss in elevation.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. But, I always looked at that more as the challenge of the thing versus the actual increase in signal strength, because, probably all things being told, and the creeks don't rise, a 2 and a 0 SWR are the same. In other words, if I could switch to an identical antenna that had a 2 versus 0, and 600 miles away, somebody would say, "Did he do something?" The signal's still the same.
600 miles away, somebody would say, "Did he do something?" The signal's still the same.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I've never ever had it explained to me like that.
Roger. It's in my estimation anyway. But the thing is that you want to run that your output of your PA as close to 0 SWR as you can. Your tubes will appreciate it so much more. And then if you have to use an antenna tuner, well, there goes the neighborhood, because you're losing some power in that antenna tuner through heat coupling there. And so I prefer to go power to the wire, fire to the wire, as they say. And so my dipole antenna that I use on 40 meters does not have any SWR. You can hook up a KW on it and go reverse, and you won't even see the meter move in reverse, Roger.
And you won't even see the meter move in reverse, Roger.
Yeah, we aren't running a resonant antenna here. I've got a 3-wire multiband dipole that I use a tuner with, but from what I can tell, I don't lose too much power to it. I definitely lose some, but it's a good tuner. It's a good PAL-STAR tuner, and yeah, from what we have noticed, it hasn't been too much loss, but seems to be doing just fine for us. But maybe in the future we might get some resonant antennas or whatever.
Yes, sir. I would suggest, a wire resonant antenna is very easy and cheap to build, and would be like a really nice number 2 in a multi-selector antenna switch. So you could run 2 antennas, and the one you have and a dipole, and then be able to switch between them and see the difference, Roger.
Between them and see the difference, Roger.
Yeah, I don't know. That might be a project I'll take up this summer.
Yes, sir. There's nothing better than options. Options are the name of the game. The more options you have, the better the situation is. Well, anyway, gosh, Dalton, good to talk at you, sir. You sound great, and I've got a good recording on you. I'm in my PA-SDR right now. I have a chevron on the right side that shows where I've been as far as listening to different SDRs across the country. And so if you would like, if you go to YouTube and do a call letter search for KC9VKV followed by the word logbook, it'll take you to this recording. It'll be cut number 1 in a series of 3,000, and I'll have it uploaded to YouTube by noon tomorrow, Roger.
Have it uploaded to YouTube by noon tomorrow, Roger.
All right. Thank you very much, and I'll definitely get to look into that.
Roger, Roger, Dalton. 73, sir. You have a great afternoon and a beautiful weekend. This is the Friday afternoon Qso-Vlog net. If you have a radio you want to check out, give me a shout.